What's good, Saxon Tech crew? Welcome back to the channel. If you've been told you need RGB to run your PC faster, that more RAM also equals more performance, or that used PC hardware are basically always waiting to happen, you're not alone. Today we're breaking down some of the biggest PC hardware myths that are still floating around in 2025. And no, we're not just roasting bad takes, we're giving straight facts so you can make smarter builds and upgrades without wasting your cash. Let's get into the video, guys. Let's start with one that somehow gets tossed around in forums by sales reps and even in some TikTok clips. The myth is that RGB makes your PC faster. It sounds ridiculous when you say it out loud, right? But the confusion often comes from seeing high-end components that have RGB and people also associating that glow with power. Here's the reality. RGB is purely cosmetic. It's just LEDs. It doesn't cool your components better. It doesn't change your clock speed. It doesn't reduce latency. What it can do is draw a little more extra bit of power from your power supply, or can even generate tiny bits of extra heat if you're going overboard with the LEDs. But that isn't very important if your performance is your goal. Spend your money where it counts. Better cooling, more VRMs on your motherboard, or a higher end graphics card, or faster storage. If you like RGB for aesthetics, that's cool. Just don't expect it to boost your frames at all. And it won't boost them at all. Honestly, I've seen in tests that RGB actually brings in more latency and takes away from your FPS while gaming. So keep that in mind. Let's bust one of the most common half-truths out there. Yes, RAM is important. Yes, having enough RAM matters, but no, more RAM doesn't always equal better performance. Here's what actually happens once you got enough RAM for your workflow. Say you have 60 gigabytes of RAM for gaming or PC, or 32 gigabytes for heavy multitasking. Adding more RAM won't do much, if anything. For gaming, 32 gigabytes is becoming more common, but from 32 gigabytes to 64 gigabytes, you won't magically increase FPS. That's not how memory works. The only time you will benefit from more RAM is if your system is actively using all of it. Like if you're editing a 4K video, doing high data sets, or running VMs. Otherwise, you're just leaving the extra RAM untouched. It's just like having 6-lane highways when you're only driving one car. So you don't fall into the trap of overspending on the RAM when you could just be putting the budget towards a better GPU or CPU, or even faster NVMe storage, which will reduce load times. Liquid cooling has this aura of being elite, and it's warranted because it is the top tier choice for bidders who want maximum performance. And yeah, in some cases, that's true. But the blanket statement that liquid cooling is always better than air just doesn't hold up. And here's why. A good air cooler will outclass a cheap 120mm AIO cooler every time. Take something like the Noctua NHU12A or the Deepcool AK620. These can be a 120mm AIO in thermal performance, noise levels, and longevity. Small AIOs often struggle because they have limited radiator surface area and can suffer from pump noise or even pump failure after a few years. Meanwhile, air coolers don't have moving parts aside from the fan, and generally last longer with less failure. Where liquid really shines is in a larger setups like 240mm AIOs or 360mm AIOs, or just having a whole custom loop where cooling efficiency and aesthetics matter more. But if you're working with a mid-range build or want a low-maintenance PC, don't be afraid to go with air. It's tried, trusted, and most importantly, effective. A lot of people believe that buying used parts is just asking for trouble, but that's not the full picture. Sure, it can be risky if you're careless, but buying used can also be one of the most smartest ways to stretch your budget in 2025. Right now, tons of people are upgrading to the newer platforms like AM5 or DDR5. That means there's a huge supply of last gen parts. Think Ryzen 5000 CPUs or DDR5 kits, Z590 motherboards, all being sold off in great condition. The key is knowing what to look for. Stick to local deals where you can test the part in person, ask for proof it works like screenshots from HM Monitor or a bench run, and also avoid sketchy sales that listings seem too good to be true. Used parts aren't automatically bad. They're just misunderstood. If you're careful, you can score incredible deals, especially on CPUs, motherboard, and RAM bundles. That lets you upgrade your whole system without rebuilding from scratch. And there you have it. 4 myths that still are way too common in 2025. RGB doesn't boost your performance, it actually brings more delay to your PC. More RAM doesn't always mean more speed and more performance. Not all liquid coolers are superior. And used parts, they're not the horror people tell you. If this helped you or even made you rethink your next build, give it a like and a sub to join the Tax and Tech crew. Got a myth you heard? Drop it in the comments down below. We might just feature in the next video. Until the next time, guys, build smart, stay cool, and keep your frames high. Peace.